listen to your soul. The light is now returning. You aren't lonely. We are burning. So take your breath and close your eyes. You could not reach the afterlife. Before you go, I want you to know that you will never be alone. So when you be on the edge of the world, I swear I won't let you fall. I will be right behind you, promise I'll find you, I won't let you go. So when you be on the edge of the world, I swear I won't let you fall. I will be right behind you, promise I'll find you, I won't let you. I won't let you. If we try a little more, kill the pain and warm our hearts. Light is now returning, we aren't lonely, we are burning. Let's take a breath and close our eyes. We could not reach the afterlife. Before we go, I want you to know that you will never be alone. So when you be on the edge of the world, I swear I won't let you fall. I will be right behind you, promise I'll find you, I won't let you go. So when you be on the edge of the world, I swear I won't let you fall. I will be right behind you, promise I'll find you, I won't let you. mind. Strike the match, ignite your life, spread your wings in the night. Anticipate lonely roads, expand your frame of mind. Don't ever lose your soul. Tie the harmony, dissonance within your voice. When you smile, you burn down absent walls in your mind. Happiness is all I really need. Don't fear the darkness, it's your light that shines so brightly.
Can't hold you back from destiny. It's your time now. Set yourself free. Can't hold you back from destiny. It's your time now.
Take us up above the clouds, shelter me under your wing. And it's more simple than you thought, and reflects your company. The storm's approaching and I see the dark within your eyes. Then you shine a smile and whisper, it's alright. Happiness is all I really need to keep my soul full and wear my heart up on my sleeve. Can't escape it, I can't outpace it. Get straight off of the path you've flown so far. Instead of your last dance, take a second chance. Rebirth is waiting for you. Ignite your life.
Can't hold you back from destiny. It's your time now. Set yourself free. Can't hold you back from destiny. It's your time now.
Look back upon the night. It's always dark before the dawn. So simple, now you see. Strike the match to set you free. when I see you in the morning? Will you still want to be true? I can't dream, I can't dream that we'll see a brighter day. And I'm alive, more alive than I've ever been your way. And I'm alive, more alive than I've ever been your way.
It's 7:59 p.m.
Okay, it's Mark, and it's time to start our live show. Today is what? What is today? It's March 14th already. Wow. Time is really flying by. So tonight's sponsor are Bendy's Armature Kits. So if you guys are interested in a low-cost and high-functioning armature kit, one with the ability to replace wire parts, wire sections if they break, check out Bendy's Armature Kits. It's an affordable alternative to some of our more expensive kits. So let me get this off the screen now and put on our webcam. All right. So anyway, last week we worked on our extra character. We call him an extra character because he's essentially not going to be a main character. He's not going to have a lot of parts in this film. But we want him to sort of match the style and everything of our other puppets. And so this character, I'm not really sure what he's going to do in the film, so I'm going to kind of give him some general different expressions. Hey, Weebeast, welcome back. So anyways, we have our mold. And so what I did before the show is I took a heat gun and I got some orange clay. This is our Avalon orange clay. Got it in a bag here. So just so you guys know, I actually ended up getting a lot more of this orange clay because I've only got this little nugget left to work with for the rest of our film. And so Webster Callcord sent me a message that he had I think I might have mentioned this last week, but he had a friend and a fellow animator who passed away. And his widow had a lot of this Avalon clay sitting around, and decided that she would sell it. And so Webster heard about it, and it happens to be Avalon clay, which is really rare. It's from the 1980s, believe it or not. So what I did is I just took some more clay, and I took the heat gun, and I melted it into our silicone mold that we made last week. So the faces come out of there like this. They come out really well. Sometimes you get air bubbles and things like that. I don't know if it really shows up super well here. There we go. So you can see he's got like an air bubble in his mouth and whatnot. So I got 3 castings, and this one is probably the worst one. This one came out with a bunch of defects. As you can see, he's got lines on there. And that's because my mold, I didn't heat it up enough before I melted the clay into it. And so it didn't get into all the details, but that's okay, because what we're going to do is we're going to actually modify these to be, like I said, different expressions. Other things we might do tonight is we've got some green clay. I might make some hair. I need some brown clay for his pants, which I have someplace. But I'm going to focus on the faces for now, and the head. So the question is, what expressions do we make? I'm not really sure, but I'm trying to think. Like, this character will end up having to be surprised in one shot. He's also going to be angry in one shot. And he has to eat apples as well. So there might be a shot of him like throwing an apple up in the air and catching it in his mouth. So maybe I'll focus on actually, doing something similar to these faces to what you would expect like a person to do if they're making a big wide mouth to catch an apple. So the question is, how should we do that? And that's a good question. I don't have an answer. I need to have an answer though. Where's my pencil at? So usually what I like to do is I'll sketch things out a bit. lost my pencil. What the heck? Did I lose my pencil? Hey, Hoserloo, welcome to the show. Here's my pencil. Alright. A long time ago, I used to put these in with our orders. AnimateClay.com was stamped on the side. So I still have some of these lying around. I don't give these away for free anymore, although I might in the future if I can find a company that makes them at a good price. But they raise the prices so high that it's like for a freebie, it's kind of expensive for me. But so anyway, we got our character, and we've got a head that's, you know, sort of like this. This is our design. It's got a mouth. Got the two eyes, kind of eyebrows. Something like this. Pretty simple. So if we kind of open his mouth, so I'm just going to do a rough sketch here. Thinking best thing would be to make like a huge mouth, something really big. Because he's got to, you know, throw an actual apple, and apples are probably about, how big would an apple be for him? Thinking something like this. So a mouth this big would definitely work. And then he's going to need probably some teeth. So I'll give him some teeth. Kind of give him some like scrunched up eyes here, because his face is going to be kind of like pushing up. So I'll scrunch his eyes a bit. And then he's going to have to close his mouth. So I'm thinking kind of like this. Now I could make him have like a sort of smiley face, or I can have kind of a, I think kind of a dopier face is a better way to go. So I don't know, like kind of this oblivious look to it. And then a smile. So that'd be like pretty simple. Maybe his eyes could be scrunched or something like that. So this would be the basic way to do it. So we'll have a big mouth, and then we could alternate if we want to from the big mouth to the closed mouth, kind of like have him chewing on his apple. And then he's satisfied and he's just smiley. So I think that'll be a good plan for now. And then we can always cast more heads later if we need to, when he's because he's going to have that angry expression too, but we've only got 3 faces to work with. So since this face here is the messed up one, I'm going to go ahead and use this one to make the big mouth expression. Hey Randy, welcome back. So we're going to sculpt some crazy expressions in our characters here. That's the goal for tonight. I'm going to kind of emulate the size of the mouth with this piece of clay and then stick it down here. So in general, you know, when you do something like this, you can stop and try to think about all the ways it can go wrong, you know? Like maybe I'm adding the clay on wrong, or like maybe I'm afraid to mess up this head, and maybe this won't look right. There's like a mental trap you can get into. If you overthink something, it's always worse. So it's best to just kind of dive in and throw clay on your character, or push the clay around, see how far you can go, and just let whatever is going to happen, and hopefully it turns out right. So as you can see here, I just threw on a bunch of clay, and I don't really know what I'm doing. Like when I do this, I'm just kind of, I know I have to aim for this, but I'm not really worried about how to get there so much. Maybe to a fault, though. I mean, maybe I should worry about it, but if you worry too much, that worry kind of holds you back. So just kind of dive in and do it. See how it looks, see what happens, And then after you start to get experience, you don't have to really worry so much. Like, you kind of have experience doing something, and it all works out. And one second. Okay. Not sure what my son wanted there, but I have a live show going on here. So anyways, so I'm just kind of throwing the clay on, and now I'm just kind of hollowing out the mouth. There needs to be a hole for the mouth. Alright. That will definitely be large enough for him to throw an apple into, I think. So how many characters are left to build? Wow. Not too many. So this was my sketch of the number of characters. So I've got, let's see. I got the main character, the mother, done. I got the bad guy done. I got him done. This guy's done. So I guess maybe 2 or 3 after this. So not too many. Now when I first started this project, I didn't broadcast what I was doing, so I built some sets and things, for these characters to live on. So some of the sets are already done, and so I can sort of just get in there and start animating if I want to. But my plan is just to kind of make all the characters first, and just take it from there. I'll probably do the animation last. And I know that when I do animation, I'm going to end up having to make more stuff. Like I can guarantee that. Like expression changes and things like that on these characters. Probably need some new expressions, and so right before I get to animating, what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to take these molds and just cast a bunch of heads and just have them sort of on standby, so when I'm at my animation table, if I want to have a character do something, or mumble something or whatever, I can sort of just get in there and take a spare face, do what I want with it, in terms of shapes and expressions, and then just throw it in for capturing, animation stuff. Throw it on my glass table, which I don't think I've showed you guys that either. I built this animation rig. It's like a table with layers of glass, and so I can put lights around it and everything. We had like an entertainment center that was made out of well, actually I didn't have it. My sister gave it to me. She was just going to throw it away. It's like this sort of futuristic entertainment center that had about maybe 5 glass shelves in it, and the top is like black futuristic plastic, and the back had like a metal grid with holes in it, so it was really like something you would see on a Star Wars Star Destroyer or something, and so the glass shells had these little pegs that they would sort of sit on, and I guess it's tempered glass, or maybe it seemed pretty sturdy. So the only problem with it was that they're not square or rectangular shaped. They have like a rounded edge to them, So I set it all up. I built like some legs out of 2x4s. I had some old pressure treated lumber, and so I used that for the legs, and then I put like cross beams for the glass to sit on, and I made sure that the layers were such that I could get my hands underneath there in between them for animating. So if you guys want to build one yourself, it's really simple. You just need 4 legs. The top has to have like a piece of wood for you to attach your camera to in a downward position, so all these guys will lay flat. And after that, it's pretty much, there's not much to it. You just start pushing your characters around. You plan your shots. So like I said, I don't know if I can broadcast that. Maybe I could somehow bring that rig into my office here, but it's going to take up a lot of space, and I have to have lights set up and everything. I mean, it's possible to do, but it's going to be difficult. So I don't know if I'm going to show the animation part of this. What I might do is take my video camera and sort of shoot some video of what I'm doing and just upload it to my YouTube channel so you guys can sort of see what it looks like. How everything comes together. I mean, watching me animate would probably be more boring than watching me sculpt. I mean, not that it's really boring, but and also you kind of need to concentrate when you're animating. Like talking like this and everything is okay when you're sculpting, but when you want to sort of keep all the stuff in mind with where your character is headed during animation, you pretty much want to close yourself off from the world and maybe animate it like 1 in the morning. Start at 1 in the morning so that when you're done, everybody's waking up, but they were sleeping. That's kind of one of the things that I do is if I have something really where I need a lot of concentration, I tend to just I push everybody away. It's not good, of course, but you have to do it sometimes. Sometimes. But as long as you balance your life out, it's okay. Like I pretty much devote my weekends to my family. Like if I work too many hours during the week, that's kind of what I try to do. And my son's on spring break, so he's been off school for a while. He's been out of school since Friday. So where is my... Oh, here it is. Let me clean this first. So I don't know how many of you guys have kids, but it's hard to entertain them sometimes. It's like finding stuff for them to do during long stretches. Which is why we give them an Xbox. A lot of people have problems with that. They're like, you can't just put your kid in front of an Xbox. But when you work from home, you need to get your work done. It's difficult to constantly do stuff. So anyway, stop motion of It, Stephen King. Yeah, the sets, Randy, I know I've got pictures. I might have shown them on the live show a while back, but yeah, they came out pretty good, and I still had to build more. But I've got one that's like a forced perspective, where I need to I need to show a whole bunch of stuff in one scene, and I need to make the main mother character a smaller version of herself, like maybe half scale or so from what I did. It's where she crosses a bridge to the other side of the world, where it's lush and green, away from where she is, and she lives in like this place where it's like a desert. Everything's sort of shriveled up, too dry, and no food will grow. Almost like that there's like that Disney fairy tale, Jack and the Beanstalk. Like the beginning kind of starts out where everything is dying, and like there's like a cow, and it doesn't give milk, and it's all skin and bones. So that's kind of the idea. So hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing here. I should probably make sure that this is in camera as I'm sculpting. Sorry for that. Yeah, I did. I bought my son a bunch of clay. And he's built stuff. He's into that bending in the ink machine. It's like it's a video game that he plays at his friend's house. And he's got like, he built a bendy character, and he's built all kinds of stuff, like a little battleship. Too many things to even count. But right now he's into making video games. He's working with this one program that it's like it's a game, but you can build your own levels, and it's really simple. It's like what is it called? I can't remember the name of it actually. But it's like a little. You're just like a triangle, and you go across the screen, and you press a button, and it bounces over an object, kind of like Mario Brothers. But in Mario Brothers, you can stop and you can go like left and right. In this, it just scrolls, and you have to react to the speed that you're going. And so it's got like a world builder kind of thing in there. So he really enjoys that, amazingly. I think that's what he's into. Like, I don't know if it's what his future holds for him, but he's really into video game creation and everything like that. And for 9 years old, he's pretty good at it too. Like, I saw what he was working on. I was pretty impressed. I mean, not just because I'm his dad or anything, but like he's very determined sometimes. Like, one of the things I always tell him is, hey, why don't you go take a shower or something? Take a bath, get clean. He's like, I don't know how to get the temperature how I like it. So I always tell him, but you're building video games. How is it that you know how to, like play an Xbox game and there's 1,500 buttons on that controller, and you know what button to press and where to go and all that, but you can't turn on water. He's always trying to play dumb. I'm just a kid, I'm dumb. It's like, no, you're not. You're not stupid. I'm sure that, all kids pull that on their parents, but it's kind of funny. Alright, so, let's see here. I think I need to extend this out more. So when he's chomping on his apple here, it's going to go between the big and small mouth. Probably when I get to the animation stage of this, I'll forget why I made the mouths like this. I'll be like, why did I make the mouth so large? Sorry for that buzzing. One of my phones is ringing, so it's... There we go. Alright. So, Sounds like, so Randy says, sounds like just obtaining the perfect glass table got you headed in this film. So cool. Yeah, that's kind of where it kind of started, right? Because I'm like, I've got this glass. Should we just throw it away? Yeah, it's like, yeah, it was definitely a sign for sure. It did inspire me. Yeah, that's one of those things. Like when I worked for John Lemon Films, they had this really cool glass table set up where they had really large panes of glass, and they had a table which was made out of like the leg part of it. The frame itself was made out of metal with these holes. Some sort of industrial steel that they bought. Really super sturdy. And you could put the layers of glass, anywhere you wanted, higher or lower. It's all adjustable. And they did a bunch of stuff for Pacific Bell, I guess it's like the telephone company at the time in maybe Mexico or maybe the Southwest. I'm not really sure. It was all in Spanish. It had like a jingle. And one of the ex-Vinton animators, I don't know if it was Joel Brinkerhoff or I think it might have been him, worked there and made all these really awesome characters like this. They were all 2.5D, so they were flat, and it was my first introduction to this particular style of clay animation when I went there. And when I got my first job doing clay animation at Gentleman Films, they gave me this little test to see if I could sculpt one of their original characters, from this particular Pacific Bell commercial sequence that they did. And so they showed me the characters and they gave me the head. It was probably a little bit larger than this one. And they were like, just have a go at it and see how good you do, And I sculpted it and passed their little test, luckily, and got to learn how to do this particular technique. And they even let me animate too. I got to animate on some Cartoon Network spots that we worked on. So I was really happy with that. It was like one of my first jobs. And it's kind of like it's a lost art. Like not too many people use this particular style or anything. So we got our chompy face here, roughly, with the chomp. So I'm thinking when he closes his mouth, maybe I'll put some little bits of apple on his lips or something, maybe also I'll have pieces of apple fly off of him. I'm thinking for smooth animation, I'd probably, if this were a main character, I would probably add some more replacement faces in this sequence, but. So now we have the smile. I'll raise these lips up too, just a bit. Smile. And kind of draw on here, like where I want the mouth to be. I think like this. I have to push these cheeks up as well. It's really fun sculpting this way. I mean, I use ZBrush for my main job, if you want to call it that, for sculpting. And I do some hand sculpting still, but it's mostly all done in ZBrush, just for ease of working with clients and making sure that things look right and all. And it's like a very specific job of sculpting celebrity faces and everything. Some cheekbones here, or whatever you call it. So like one of the things that I got from my client today, they 3D printed out Burt Ward's face that I sculpted in ZBrush. and they printed this out from Shapeways, so it's large, and I've got to clean this up with clay. There's like these little lines in there, which I don't know if you can see them, but the 3D printing lines are all through this. So I use, regular clay to do that, but my clients prefer like super perfection, and so you gotta go with ZBrush for that. But this particular method of just using clay is more satisfying. It's kind of fun. It's kind of quirky. It's not like something I'm worried about being too precise with. And I think that sometimes you need to do that if you're an artist, just like to not have to worry about like, is this ear too far to the left? Is it sticking out right? Is this crease in the nose like the way it needs to be? And that sort of thing is just, it's like more tedious than this. So if I had a choice, like if I could just do this all day, I'd rather probably do this than like what my clients want. The only problem is, of course, this doesn't pay the bills. Oh, hey, let's see. Kodabop. Thanks for that. Yeah, welcome to the show. Yeah, we do these shows every Wednesday, same time, 8 o'clock p.m. Central, which would be 9 o'clock Eastern, I guess, and 6 o'clock Pacific, I think. I think it's 6 o'clock. Yeah, I need to do more tutorials, though. I mean, it's like, those are the more popular things on the channel than what I'm doing here. People don't really get into this as much because it's, there's no jump cuts and it takes a long time to watch. I think that's probably the problem. It's like, oh man, I gotta sit and watch this guy sculpt for an hour. But, it's like, tutorials are really just, if you're looking for something specific, that's what everybody likes. I mean, same here too. If I were going to watch a channel and they had a specific tutorial on something I needed to know when I was making the film, I would definitely watch that before I watched, just a randomized chat show or something. Alright, so anyways, we got our crazy smile. Got our chompy chomp face and the big wide open mouth. And so with this one, I'm gonna just kind of refine this one a bit. I think that this will work. So I'm gonna add a lower lip. And once I smooth these, what I need to do is I need to paint black into, let's see, the eyeballs and the mouth. And then once that's done, I can add the teeth in here. So these guys will have some nice looking teeth. Let's see what time it is, 8:33. I should have enough time to do that tonight, hopefully. Hey Finn, welcome to the show. So Hoser Lou says, was the Burt Ward job a new one? I recommended you to a guy who wanted one done about a month ago. Burt Ward, no, I think there was a guy who asked me about like an Elvis head. He wants to do something, so maybe that's the person. I'm not sure. Sometimes I get people that just contact me out of the blue, but Burt Ward is for the same client that I've been doing, like the Julie Newmar and all the Batman characters. It's for that museum, the 1966 Hollywood Museum, or the 1966 Batman exhibit at the Hollywood Museum in Hollywood. It's really cool that I was able to, I'm able to be part of that. And then the Frank Gorshin one, the Riddler, is what I just finished up in ZBrush. The Burt Ward I finished maybe about a month ago, but he just got the printing process part of it completed, because he didn't like the size of it for some reason. He thought it was too large maybe, so he reprinted it at Shapeways to make it smaller. Alright. So again, just using some mineral oil that I've put into a container with a paper towel. And I just dip my finger in there and just going to go on this character's face with that little bit of oil and smooth out all the tool marks. Clean them up a bit. This. I appreciate that though. It's really cool that that you made a recommendation. I appreciate that, Horsrulu. And I don't have a tutorial sculpting on a Bendy's character. But if you watch any of my other tutorials, it's the same exact techniques. You just take clay, put it on there with heat it up a bit so it can melt to the armature. Or you can just stick it on with, actually the better way to do it so that you don't melt the plastic armature itself is to apply a thin coat of mineral oil like what I'm doing here to smooth my character. Apply that to your Bendy's armature kit, and when you apply the clay, just let it sit there for a bit and it will chemically melt to the surface of the armature and it will stick. It doesn't take too long. It takes like maybe 10 minutes or so for the reaction to work. Or probably less than that, but that's the trick. And those armatures are designed to be the same size as what I used in my Zombie Pirate Tale film. So the same kind of head size and the same sized feet and all that. It works really good in that scale and in that style for clay characters. To have somewhat large feet to hold up their bodies, but that doesn't have to, those particular armatures you don't have to use clay on. You can use cloth or other materials to cover it, and foam and things like that, like sponge rubber that you can glue on it. Does not always have to be clay. Although I prefer clay myself, but doesn't have to always be that, And so Whiskey says, I might try some clay on glass this summer just for fun. It would be something new. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean it's worth trying. If you guys haven't done it before, at least you should try it once just to see if you like it. And it's a good way to tell stories. Like there's no, you don't have to worry about armatures and gravity, because clay is heavy, so you don't have to worry about that. There's a lot of benefits to it. So I'm going to show you guys what faces I've got done for tonight. So here are the expressions. Very simple, but hopefully effective. Now, in terms of painting goes, I'm going to take one of my these guys here. I'm going to put this in my mold to hold it up, and then I'm going to take some. This is 91% alcohol, isopropyl alcohol. So there's no dust in it first. I don't really need a lot of this, just a little bit inside my container. You guys can see that. And I'm going to take a paintbrush. Make sure there's no dust on this as well. Got a paper towel, which is pretty clean. And And I'm going to use my special. This is Stuart Simple Black. It's the most matte and flat black paint you can buy. It comes from the UK. Super flat, super matte, ultra pigmented acrylic paint, non-toxic. Yeah, I don't know if there's a brush that cleans with water, but I use alcohol. I mean, it's either way, it'll work. And it takes barely any paint to cover a surface. So I should probably, with one drop, be able to do all I need for these guys. I'm just going to get in here and just work the paint around in his mouth. And what's great about this paint is it's so matte and so flat that it gives a lot of depth, you know, to your mouth. It really looks like it'll look like it's deeper than it is. And that's the effect that's, you know, I'm trying to go for. So when you're doing this sort of animation, what you're doing is you're really skewing like angles, and like when you're working with structures like buildings or rooms or anything like that in this style, what you do is you angle everything to make it seem like there's depth. You know, they call that forced perspective. Oops. It'll take a bit of time for this to dry, but you can see how that turns out there. Randy's asking, can you use mineral oil on Sculpey to smooth it out? And they recommend that you use alcohol to smooth it out. The main reason being because if you use mineral oil, it tends to sometimes Sculpey can be too soft, like it'll get kind of mushy. I don't know if you've ever experienced that. Like if you buy it brand new and it gets a little bit warm, you'll notice that the Sculpey gets kind of like gummy, I guess is the word. And putting oil on there just makes it worse. So I don't really recommend it. The alcohol, rubbing alcohol, tends to evaporate really fast, and that's what I would go for. Yeah, that's the bad part about Sculpey, or super Sculpey in particular. I mean, regular Sculpey too, I guess. You know, it's just the consistency of it is always inconsistent. That's sort of the rule behind Sculpting, you know. It's just, you never quite know what you're gonna get, unfortunately. Like if you go to a hobby shop and there's a box that's been there and, you know, it's kind of dusty. If you notice a lot of dust on it, it's been sitting there for a while, you want to pass that up because it'll be dried out. But if you get a brand new box, if it's like a store where they sell it really like fast and they sell out in like a day, and then they restock it with fresh, sometimes it's too soft. And they sell Sculpey dilutant as well. Sculpey dilutant is something which you can blend into your Sculpey to make it softer if you want it softer. Because like I say, it will dry out, and whatever that stuff is not water. It's something other. I don't know what it is. It's a magic blend of stuff. Secret stuff. See you later, Finn. Thanks for stopping by. see here. So, yeah, so you'll see here in a second, after I finish this mouth, you'll notice that this guy here will be just about dry. You'll see how flat and matte this stuff really looks. I love this particular paint. You can do a lot with it. I mean, in terms of, like I say, forced perspective is not just a matter of angles and things. Using paint like this, darkness indicates depth to your brain, like a dark area. So, for example, one of the reasons that camouflage works for the military when they use it on a character, like a person's face, is that the dark parts appear to be further away than the lighter parts. That's just how our brain sees things. So camouflage fools you because your brain perceives things that way, and so you can use those things in forced perspective. So when you're doing your lighting, anything that's closer would be lighter, lit more. Anything you want to have perceived as further away, you kind of darken it a bit. So while this might be in reality, this mouth is only maybe, 3 millimeters or so, or 4 millimeters deep. The black paint will make it appear deeper. Let's see. All right, so I'm gonna clean my brush off. You can see the alcohol does work. Water is probably better. I just don't have any right here. Actually, you know what? I did have water. I have water in a squirt bottle. I could have used that. Oh well. That's okay. So over here. Alright, so you can see how this looks as it's almost completely dry now. There's a little bit of a wet spot in there in the top part of his mouth, but there's what it looks like. Now I'm going to have everything lit from the top of these characters. Like there's going to be like sunlight at the top angle, so that will help. So what I need to do now is get some ivory clay, and I'm going to put some teeth in there. So let me get some ivory clay. This is in my closet. Alright, I need to run in my garage real quick. I'll be right back, everybody. Evidently my son is watching this show in the other room and he goes, "How could you forget Geometry Dash, Daddy?" So that's the game that he's working on. Anyway, I got this small block of ivory clay here, which weighs about 5 pounds. So here it is. This is actually pretty old, and that's good. This is Van Aken clay. So I'm going to use this for the teeth. The reason you use ivory clay is because the white clay tends to reflect the light too much, and it looks really weird. So I'll try to open this up here. Let's see if I can get this out of here. Alright, so I don't need a lot. I'm just going to kind of break off a little chunk here. this. Let's clay to the side. Tends to be kind of greasy, like if you open up a brand new pack of clay that's old, all the oil kind of comes to the surface where the plastic wrap meets the clay. I don't really know why. Anyway, this is going to work good. So as you can see, by the way, one drop of black clay paint goes really far. Did you guys miss me? So the smiley face I drew here got some crazy looking teeth in this guy's mouth. I could go really weird with this guy. I could probably give him individual teeth that look a little bit more interesting than just one sort of row of teeth that are perfect. So I think I'll do like this. Do it like this, I say. Stick it in there. Yeah, that's the bad part about this. The that black paint doesn't really tend to allow other clay to stick to it very well, so sometimes it's hard to get the teeth to stay in there. Looking pretty crazy right now, but you can see how that looks. So I'm just taking little pieces of ivory and just kind of shaping it into a toothy sort of shape. Stick it in there with the end of my tool, and I'm trying to press it where the clay is and not the paint. That's kind of the hard part. Tends to want to pull out. See, it'll stick to my tool, and it's also scraping the paint off, which is not nice. Alright, so I'm going to take a little bit of mineral oil on my my brush and just kind of go like this. So like I said before, what mineral oil does is if you have a problem with clay sticking to something that, like for example the paint, which kind of creates a barrier between the two colors, the oil will tend to melt your clay chemically, just in a slight way. So like with this, now it will stick when I put it in there without falling out. And it does work. I mean, it's kind of neat. I'll take this last tooth for the upper mouth. And I'm going to take some oil and put it back in there. On this side, take these teeth again. I can get it in there this time. There we go. Alright, it's got some teeth now. Then I'm going to take some more oil, and before I even put the lower teeth in there, I'm going to get some oil on the bottom where they attach, so it will stick, or at least stick in a better way than it did before. For the bottom, I think I might just try making a little row of teeth like this. this. And then I think, did I put a tongue in there? I should have brought my box of clay over here tonight. I didn't think to do that. Well, I can always add one later. But I do want to patch up this black just a little bit. So right there. Voila. So what time is it? Okay, got about 5 more minutes. Well, that's perfect. Perfect timing. So I'll get the teeth in the smiley version here. And we'll wrap up our show. I'm not really sure how I'm going to do this because the way I sketched it, I had a lot of teeth in there.
Daddy, I think that's for you.
Okay. So let's see how this looks. See you later, Colas. Thanks for stopping by. So yeah, so if you guys are planning to ever make a film like this, you know, just gotta have patience and gotta have a plan, and you gotta try to stick to it. And also, it's a good idea to have fun doing it. Like, if you don't have fun, I wouldn't recommend stop motion to anybody who doesn't find it, you know, a challenge and something that you like to do. I mean, like, to me, I kind of like a challenge, so what I'll do is I'll kind of stick with things just to see if I can complete it. Because usually when I do complete something, that's like a great feeling, you know. But some people, they can't be bothered. Like, my wife does not really like art at all. She doesn't really like this kind of stuff. But the one thing she does like is she likes to knit, like knit clothing and hats and stuff like that, and scarves and blankets and stuff. I mean, she's into that kind of thing. So it just depends on what you like, really. But there are people that just, they don't get into anything creative at all. They just don't like it. It seems silly to them. All right. So with this smiley face, I'm thinking I want to add more dimension to his teeth, because when he's got his mouth open, they're more natural looking. So I'm going to just kind of add a little tooth here. This one has a piece of fuzz on it or something. I'll get rid of that one. It's really hard to keep your desk perfectly clean, because when you're working with small teeth and things, what tends to happen is you know, one little piece of dust is, in scale terms, it's 10 times larger. So it's what is my son banging on? AJ, if you're watching live, stop it. Okay. So anyways, so these little teeth here, I think, because I originally, without the teeth, it was looking pretty flat here. Let's see if I can get in focus. So hopefully this will make it look nicer. AJ, go away.
No, it's me.
I'm still doing my live
show.
show.
Call in 20 minutes.
Yeah, I'm aware, Dad. Everybody knows I have a live show. Everybody. My dad got this thing called what is it called again? It's like this home shopping network phone that you can get, and the instructions actually lied to him. They told him that he didn't need like this sort of PIN number that he had, that it was built into the phone, and it's like got like a 1,000 or 1,500 minute plan to it, so you can buy one per year and just use it the whole year. It's really kind of cool actually. No hidden fees or anything like that. And so my sister tried to help him set that up, and she couldn't get it to work, and she's like a real whiz with phones. I mean, she knows more than I do, and she couldn't figure it out. So I followed the instructions that came with the phone, tried to help him out, and it was a replacement phone. And so he had a PIN already, and so what we did is, as I'm trying to figure it out, I'm like, well, that's strange. It says you don't need a PIN on the instructions, and what a PIN is like a 4-digit number. It could be anything. And I'm like, well, I don't know what that is. And I said, was there something in the box, like a PIN number on something somewhere? Or because the instructions showed like a little graphic of what looked like a PIN number. And so we're trying to work it out, trying to figure it out. And he's like, oh, I know the PIN. It's, let's say it's like 1120. I'm like, what do you mean? Like I said, where'd you get that from? He goes, oh, that's my old PIN. So we tried it and it worked. But it took us forever just to get that. Like, he couldn't figure it out, and I couldn't figure it out. My sister couldn't figure it out. But finally, my dad, who knows the least about phones, was the one to figure it out. It's kind of funny. But anyway, yeah, it's kind of a silly thing, people ask you for help all the time, and you're like, they think because understand computers and you have a live show and all this other stuff that you know everything, and sometimes the answer is they had the answer. All right, so I got a mouthful of teeth here. I think I like the look of this kind of complicated mouth versus what I had before. I think I'll put one more tooth here. Do that. Yeah, my uncle turned my dad on to the idea of the home shopping network phones that they offer to save money, and I think he paid $70 essentially for a year's worth of phone calls. And the phone comes with it. It's like a pretty nice little Samsung. And it's a smartphone. It's not like one of those flip phones, But when you run out of minutes, unfortunately, you gotta get a whole new phone. So here we are. So here we have the open mouth. We have the smiley face and this face. And that's gonna do it for tonight. So anyways, hopefully you guys kind of enjoyed the show tonight, although it was a little bit chaotic. But yeah, so far so good. All right, I will probably make more of these face casts next week before the live show. Maybe one or two, I don't know. And then we'll work on the rest of it. Catch you guys all next week. Thanks for stopping by, everybody.